This game, your craft, you have to continue studying it. No matter how much you enjoy it, nobody wants to be in school that long. At some point, you have to be ready to graduate. 35, that's just a number in my mind. See, what do you think? What's left to do for Kevin Durant to enhance his legacy? What else does he have to do?
I mean, I think he's got a lot left to do. I mean, if you look at the top players in the NBA and how teams will be gunning for Golden State, I mean, you can't say Kevin Durant's career is finished at 29 because you know what? He'll be judged on, well, after your second title, well, what did you do? Well, now this is the reason why you're not a top 10 player. So I don't believe it's as cut and dry as he's healthy. And as long as he can play in an environment where he's able to grow his game and he feels very, very comfortable, which they've created that atmosphere with Steve Kerr and the ownership at Golden State, I don't like players talking about retirement because I believe it becomes easier the more you talk about it. Now, I just think there's some irony to it. What does it mean? I don't know. But right after, he's at the pinnacle of his career.
Yeah.
Why would you be talking about quitting when you're at the height of your career? And he's just like, it was 35, maybe because that was my number when I was a rookie or something like that. Like
probably what it is.
Like he just threw out a number. Like some of the stuff, it seemed well thought out, but the other stuff would just seem like he was just throwing out things. So Kevin Durant, sometime when I listen to his interviews, I get a little confused. Sometimes I have more questions after the interview than I have answers.
I think that's a great point because when he says, it's studying and nobody wants to be in school forever, that is a really interesting window into how he looks at his career.
Well, I kind of know a little bit about his academics. He wasn't the strongest of students.
He didn't love studying in general. I understand that. I get that part of it. But Kobe's been on the show a bunch today, and he will continue in the next hour and a half. I think Kobe would have played for as long as he possibly could have and did until his body broke down on him. When we hear about LeBron talking about trying to hone my craft and continue, I don't think a lot of these guys look at the game like school, like it is a chore. And so I wouldn't have thought Kevin Durant did. Now, maybe those were just, maybe if you pull those words back, but I'm not trying to overanalyze it. But it is interesting that he's a guy who is right now in the peak of his prime. Nobody would be talking about Kevin Durant retiring unless Kevin Durant brought it up.
Which he did.
And so it's an interesting thing. Now, to answer your question, to enhance his legacy, I guess he's got two paths. One is the path LeBron ended up choosing after Miami, which is go somewhere where they had never won, where there weren't champions on the team, and bring them a title. And the other one is to stay in Golden State and win a bucket of them. Like you mentioned earlier with Clay and Draymond, what's the difference between 3 titles and 4 titles? For KD, what's the difference between 3 and 2? Not a bunch. What's the difference between 5 and 2? Now, you know what I mean? That's on that team. Now, the difference between 3 and 2 for KD, if one of them happens in Washington, where Wall has never won a title, or it goes back to OKC, where Russ had never won a title, that would be different. But when you're in this rarefied air, it becomes much harder to take those jumps, right? He's already one of the 25 greatest players ever. So now getting from, the 50 greatest player ever to the 20th, that's a much quicker jump than 20th to 10th or from 10th to 5th.
The other things he's got left in his career, at one point in your career, you'd like to be considered the best player. And Kevin Durant right now, he can say, yeah, I got trophies. I got MVP regular season. I got finals MVP, got 2 of them, got 2 championships, 2 of them. But at no point, not in 13, 12, 10, 17, 18, game 3 and 17, at not one point in his career was he the best player in the world. That's something that's not on his resume. And if he could get that while he was playing, that would be a major accomplishment.
So that's, I'm so glad you brought that up, because Kevin Durant right now is either the best or the second best player ever to never be the best player in the world. Now that's the
other being Kobe.
Exactly right. Maybe if you think Kobe was, then Durant's the best player to ever not be the best player in the world. Like that championship belt has been held by very few people in the last 40 years. Kareem to Moses. Magic and Bird tossed it back and forth for a little bit. Then Jordan, then Hakeem briefly, then Jordan again. Then it was Shaq, then it was Duncan. I would say Duncan handed it to LeBron. Some would say Duncan Kobe to LeBron. But that's it. LeBron's held it for a decade plus. So I think I just listed 8 guys. Like, holding that belt, I'm the best player in the world. He's never done that. That is an interesting one. That is on his NBA bucket list. So I want the audience to understand a few things. Tim Cavalcami's been talking about this for a long time, okay? He's the reporter that spoke on this for The Athletic. He covers the team up in the Bay Area.
He used to cover me in Philadelphia.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
He's a really good journalist.
He really is.
And he's not talking about them doing it right now. He's talking about them doing it potentially a year from now is the most likely if they were to do it. And anyone that says that's laughable, it's insane, it would never happen, those are the same things being said about the Warriors going out and getting Kevin Durant. Now, that was cleaner because that was a player choosing to go there via free agency rather than via a trade. But could they make this happen? Well, I mean, yeah, like, Draymond Green and Andre Iguodala's contracts match up. You could add them, you could trade them. If they're trying to sign Klay Thompson to an extension, they could then flip him. Like, a lot of things to where this absolutely could happen. I would be careful if I'm Golden State in trying to have this be out there while I'm also potentially trying to sell Klay and Draymond on signing extensions now, which will cost them an enormous amount of money. If Klay and Draymond sign extensions early and forego true unrestricted free agency, the Warriors are limited in what they can pay them, as opposed to them hitting free agency. They could stay with the Warriors, but for Klay it would cost them about $80 million signing early. Draymond around the same. So I'd be very careful in letting it be out there. We might want to trade for Anthony Davis while we're also going to Klay and or Draymond saying, re-up now, let's lock into you now. But I wouldn't put anything past the Warriors. They're not worried about the competitive balance of the league. They're not worried about the ratings of the NBA Finals. If they have the second and third best players in the world, if they can acquire the fourth, I'm sure they'll try to.
The Warriors haven't been relevant that much the last 20 years. And now we would say that this franchise, one of the most popular in all of sports, why would you give that up? So when people say, well, why wouldn't you be looking? I would think that in a couple years, they're going to be looking at adding a star, because that's their formula. Let's get as many stars together as possible, especially as long as we have, especially I think around Steph as a shooter. Let's put some other players. That's how the Lakers continued their dynasty for a long time. That's how the Celtics did it for a long time. So I'm not surprised at all. If it's not him, it's going to be someone else. So I'm not shocked at all, because in the NBA, now once you get a taste of it, and with them winning 3 out of the last 4, how long do they keep? Because as a player that's won 3 in Klay and Draymond, how much more do I sacrifice? I mean, because what's the difference between 3 and 4? Really not that much of a difference, but you talking about me taking $50 to $80 million less? Now, these players, I'm sure that they're looking at what's best for them, because it becomes hard to get people to continue to sacrifice, and it's going to be hard to keep this team totally together. So I'm not shocked at all they would be looking at a plan like Anthony Davis.
So you asked the question. I'd love you to answer it. Why would you take a team that's really at the beginning, if KD wins another one, of their dynasty, that has all the pieces in place, and say, well, let's try to tweak it a little bit. Maybe we can make it even better. This is a team that won during the regular season, that kind of skated through the postseason. Why would you want to tinker with that?
For the same reason that they took a 73-win team that had already won a title and said, we will totally revamp our bench. We will get rid of Harrison Barnes because we can add one of the very best players alive. Listen, if they can do this, I'm sure they will look into it. I want to make this very clear. I tried to lay out very lawyerly almost how it could happen, why I believe it's plausible. It would be terrible for the league. Like, there is no getting around that, and it would be... Would
it be terrible for league? Because you are going to give up 2 of those 4 superstars, most likely.
If you have the second, third, and fourth best players in basketball, then good night, good luck. It is
regardless
not an all-star
if you
team.
give up
it's
Klay
an all-NBA team.
I mean, we didn't know where the NBA was going to be 2 years from. In 2016, we didn't know we'd be here. So for us to think we're going to know where it's going to be in 2020, that's going to be hard to do. It's going to be hard to keep Golden State together. But I believe that they'll try to get another star in the next 3 years.
But the thing is this, though, and this is, for me, this is the problem that I had logically with people that endorsed the Kevin Durant move, is once you say you have no responsibility to the competition of the league, once you say you have no responsibility to trying to go out and beat these guys, once it was okay for Kevin Durant to do it, of course it's okay for Anthony Davis to do it. Kevin Durant's team was better, and Kevin Durant is better than Anthony Davis was. Kevin Durant's team was closer than Anthony Davis's team. Kevin Durant had better teammates than Anthony Davis has. Once it's okay for him to go, then it's okay for everyone to go. Then it's okay for LeBron to go. It's okay for Anthony Davis to go. It's okay for the all-NBA team to all be literally on one NBA team. I'm not okay with any of it. I don't like any of it. But it
wouldn't be okay for the league. And I think moving forward, like the league will consider those things. Golden State has a rare opportunity to build on what they have, and that's probably going to be around KD and Steph. With Draymond and them, how many sacrifices are they going to be able to make so that they can improve? Because one thing that we've lost in this whole conversation, Golden State was down. They had the second-best record this year in the NBA during the regular season. They were down to the Houston Rockets, and Chris Paul got hurt. All right? So we're sitting here acting like, oh, there's no competition in the NBA. Well, they were down, and Chris Paul got hurt. They wouldn't have this championship if Chris Paul plays in one of those games.